Good day everyone, today I am going to report about Don Quixote. So what is Don Quixote? Don Quixote is a 2000 television film adaptation of the classic novel Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra, made by Hallmark Entertainment and distributed by Turner Network Television. A dubbed into Spanish version was distributed by Divisa Home Video. The film was shown in 3 parts in Europe, but in one installment in the US, although the film was made in English and although it was released on VHS shortly after it was telecast in the US. The only DVD ever made of the film is in the Divisa Home Video of all Hallmark adaptation of classic novels which premiered on Turner Network Television. Don Quixote is the only one still unavailable in the US or British DVD. The film was directed by Peter Yates and teleplay adapted by John Mortimer from the Cervantes novel. Produced by Dyson Lovell and Robert Halmy Sr. and John Lithgow as executive producer. The original music was by Richard Hartley and the cinema by David Connell. The film stars John Lithgow as Don Quixote de la Mancha, whose real name is Alonso Quijano, and Bob Hoskins as Sancho Panza with Isabella Rossellini, Vanessa L. Williams, Lambert Wilson, Tony Haggard, Peter Airy, Lilo Moore, James Porifoy, and Trevor Peacock. So what is Don Quixote all about? Who, what, where, when, and how? Don Quixote is fully entitled as the ingenious gentleman Don Quixote of La Mancha. It's a novel written by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. The novel follows the adventures of Alonso Quijano, a hidalgo who reads so many chivalric novels that he decides to set out to revive chivalry under the name of Don Quixote. He recruits a simple farmer named Sancho Panza as his squire, who frequently deals with rhetorical operations on antiquated knighthood with a unique earthy wit. He is met by the world as it is, initiating themes like realism, meta-theater, and literacy presentation. Published in 2 volumes a decade apart, in 1605 and 1615, Don Quixote is considered as the most influential work of literature from Spanish Golden Age and the entire Spanish literary canon. As a founding work of modern Western literature and one of the earliest canonical novels, it regularly appears high on lists of the greatest works of fiction ever published. In 2002, Don Quixote was cited as the best literary work ever written. So what are the influences of Don Quixote? Miguel de Cervantes' great 17th century Spanish classic Don Quixote de la Mancha is universally acknowledged as one of the greatest books ever written and the first truly modern one. In the novel in which the main characters evolve emotionally and intellectually and change over a certain period of time. It is an enormous long work and an extremely difficult one to adapt to the screen without sacrificing the philosophical insights of the novel, some of which seem may undramatic on screen, others of which are subtly hidden beneath the comic surface of the book. So let me give you some basic information about Don Quixote. So the title of the film is Don Quixote, as we all know, and the directors and the lead actors is the most recent television version starring John Lithgow as Don Quixote and Bob Hoskins as Sancho Panza, tries to do both and succeeds remarkably due to an excellent script by British playwright John Mortimer, who seems to be one of the few writers to truly understand how to adapt this brilliant novel without substituting his own inventions to bring out the inner meaning. Director Peter Yates also seems to understand that Don Quixote. So what are the genres of the movie? So first, it is adventure, comedy, romance, and drama. So where was the settings of the Don Quixote? All enjoyable Don Quixote is believable setting, which of course fame would have to be fairly true to the book. So let me give you some short summary of the movie. So a crusade for decency and truth is mounted by a man gone mad, or has he? In this made-for-TV adaptation of the classic novel by Miguel de Cervantes. Alonso Quijano decides that it's time to devote his life to battling evil in all its forms. He dubs himself as Don Quixote, who suits up in a rusted armor and sets off to the combat of world's injustices. And with the help of his loyal friend and squire Sancho Panza, he sets out to confront the world's ills. Inspired by lovely Dulcinea, and persuaded by a mysterious duchess, Quixote fights his battles as he finds them, with Sancho Carrasco attempting to find the eccentric old man who sends him home before he can do any serious damage to himself or others. Don Quixote travels to countryside mistaking windmills for evil giants and blundering into massive battles with enemies both real and imaginary. What are the effects of Don Quixote? If a remark which Cervantes himself makes in the prologue of Don Quixote is to be taken literally, the idea of work, though hardly the writing of its first parts have been maintained, occurred to him in prison in La Mancha. Cervantes' idea was to give a picture of real life and manners and to express himself in clear language. The intrusion of everyday speech into literary context was acclaimed by the reading public. The author stayed for until 1605, when the first part of Don Quixote appeared, although it did not make Cervantes rich, but it brought him international appreciation as man of letters. The popularity of Don Quixote led the publication of an unknown continuation of an unknown writer who masqueraded under the name of Alonso Fernandez de Avellaneda. Cervantes produced his own continuation or second part of Don Quixote, which made its appearance in 1615. The exemplary novels a year before the publication of Avellaneda's book, Don Quixote has been regarded chiefly as a novel of purpose. It is stated again and again that he wrote it in order to satirize the romance of chivalry and to challenge the popularity of a form of literature that had been a favorite of the general public for more than a century. Don Quixote certainly reveals much narrative power and considerable humor as a mastery of the dialogue and forceful style. Of the two parts written by Cervantes, perhaps the first is more popular with the general public, containing the famous episodes of tilting at windmills, the attacks on the flock of sheep, the vigil of the courtyard of the inn, and the episode with the barber and the shaving basin. The second part shows more constructive insight, better delineation of character, improved style, and more realism and probability in its actions. So let me give you some review about Don Quixote. This most recent television version starring John Lithgow as Don Quixote and Bob Hoskins as Sancho Panza tries to do both and succeeds remarkably due to an excellent playwright of a British writer, John Mortimer, who seems to be one of the few writers who truly understands how to adapt this brilliant novel without substituting his own inventions to bring out the inner meanings. Director Peter Yates also seems to understand that Don Quixote doesn't need to be treated in a heavy-handed tragic style, and it is all right to trust Cervantes' own style as well as the intelligence of the audience, something that obviously isn't always learned. Lithgow is brilliant as the Don, hilariously naughty in the early scenes and in the second half of the film, in which Quixote is made the dignified victim of cruel and insensitive practical jokes. Bob Hoskins, despite his pronounced Cockney accent, does an admirable job as Sancho Panza. The other roles are little more than cameos. Even the misleadingly third and fourth billed Isabella Rossellini as a seemingly sweet but inwardly horrendously insensitive Duchess, and Vanessa Williams as the both milkmaid Aldonza and the Don's imaginary ladylove. Dulcinea del Toboso, who makes her appearance in Don's imagination. Director Yates is intelligent enough to resist the temptation of overplay and the insensitivity of outside world as much as possible. Unlike so many other directors, he does not take sides with the characters and tries to be as objective as Cervantes himself. He allows us to discover for ourselves the insensitive of Duke and Duchess, and perhaps the only unfortunate change he makes is turning Sanson Carrusco into a wholly sympathetic figure rather than a fool of himself glad that Cervantes creates, and even Yates couldn't resist, a man of La Mancha, touched in the final scene nobody can, and now actually. The period of the film has been updated to about 1800 to make the idea of knight-errantry seem even farther in the past, though this did not really hurt the film. It is unfortunate, though, that producer Robert Halmy couldn't resist providing a sop to the now wildly popular notion of working special effects into everything. Unlike any other version, Quixote's hallucinations are vividly shown on screen, and it must be admitted, it does not lend a certain flavor to the story to see them, but the monstrous giants shown on screen have more common with Star Wars film rather than Don Quixote. Still, this latest version of the novel is excellent and not to be missed. It has been beautifully photographed on location in Spain and enhanced with a Spanish-flavored musical score. It is easily the best version of Cervantes' original done in English. So, that's all guys. Thank you for listening.